go over. So I just thought that I would get started and give people time to get on. For those of you that are watching the replay, oh, hey, Robert, how are you? How was your day today? For those of you that will be watching the replay, you know you can get additional resources by texting the word mastery to 833-231-4407. Hey, Raven, how are you? Right after this, ladies, I'm just going to be popping in our membership group portal, the Facebook group, just to see if you have any questions or anything that you want help with that maybe, you may not feel always comfortable to talk in this big, larger group with. So we will be going there right after we're done here. I am a little bit early. Hey, Rotunda, how are you? How was your day? We're almost done with the book, guys. So I don't know. I mean, I have taken some of your suggestions on some of the other topics that you'd like me to teach. For instance, in August, I will be doing a class on protecting your energy, protecting your boundaries, learning how to cut yourself off from negative energy, that type of thing. So we will be doing that in August, but I'm wondering, do you all want me to pick another book to go over? Do you have a topic other than the ones that we've already talked about that you want me to address? Because I don't know. I didn't think about this. I guess I just thought this would go on forever and didn't even think about it. So you guys will let me know while I'm getting situated here. We are on chapter 16 in the book Atomic Habits. Going over this book for those of you that are new, because if you have had the first half of this year not turn out quite the way you wanted, it doesn't mean that you can't turn things around and have what it is that you want to have. You just may need to know some key things around goal setting, around specifically shifting your identity in order to create a more successful process for yourself. And so the chapter for today is a fairly simple chapter. Let's see. Oh, the confidence catalyst. Hey, how are you? Ratana says she had a good day working on change, self-observing. And then I see somebody was also busy, but still had a good day over here as well. All right. So we are learning today how to stick with good habits every day. Because remember, once we shift into the identity of the person that we want to become, and again, I'm going to repeat myself over and over and over because the repetition is what gets the information implanted in your subconscious so that you can start to shift into the person that you want to be. So all throughout the day, what you should have been doing was thinking about yourself, the version of yourself 2.0, your higher self, and moving into that space to create the behavior that you want to create. Remember, it's not about trying to change the behaviors we want to have. It's about becoming the woman that we want to be. Sometimes there's a man here, but there's no man, so I didn't want to be offensive. So, you're becoming the woman that you want to be, the highest form of yourself. And so whenever you are approaching life, remember, you're not approaching life from your old self that promised yourself that you would get things done. You set goals that you didn't accomplish. You started, seeing progress on your goals, but then you got discouraged and you gave up on yourself. This is a new version of yourself that has already accomplished what it is that you are trying to achieve. And so from that space, what is she doing? How is she thinking? What is she feeling? What is she wearing? How is she walking? How does she dress? All of the things, because the more that you can get into character and align yourself with the best version of yourself, the easier it's going to be for you to make the changes that you need to make in order to become the woman that you want to be. It's about changing your self-identity and changing your concept of yourself instead of trying to struggle to create something magical in your life. Hey, Lafayette, and hey, Leticia. Okay, so how to stick with good habits every day. This is going to be important for a lot of us because and I just put an article about this. So if some of you want even more, I linked the article to when you can text Mastery to get the additional resources. However, it is also on the blog. Until you can do two things, because remember, change is psychological and it's biological. So until the biological process kicks in, which is the part that takes longer, then you're going to have the discipline to be able to take yourself over that hump. And so there's a lot of different things you can do. And this chapter starts off with a guy that was a salesman. And every day when he went to work, he would put 120 paper clips in one cup, and then the other cup would be empty. And this gentleman knew that every time he made a sales call, he would move one paper clip from the full jar to the empty jar every time he made a call. And his goal every day was he had to make 120 calls. The power of this is that, number one, you have that visual cue saying that, well, if I don't make these 120 calls, I'm not going to hit my goal. And so it started to keep him motivated. And number two, if you know that 120 calls for you equals a certain conversion rate and a certain income, then he can also predict his income goals based on the number of calls he makes. So you see that once you get your person on point, the actual strategy behind achieving your goals is not as hard as you make it. You can reverse engineer anything that you want to do in life, but the thing that's going to always trip you up and the thing that's going to always make you give up on yourself is your inability to, I'm going to say, stay in character, adopt that character, shift your character for long enough for you to be able to make these substantial changes. So by him doing this, he was able to bring $5 million into his firm. And within a year, he was making $75,000 a year. Now, this happened a really long time ago. So $75,000 a year was the equivalent of $125,000 now. So in a year, he was able to go from a new 23-year-old stockbroker that didn't have any money to somebody that was making six figures. And now that he has a replicatable strategy along with an identity and habits to go along with the goal that he's trying to achieve, now he knows what he needs to do to level up, to make more money, to, make more sales. It's that simple. That's why you get your identity on point. You pick a goal. You pick your 3 habits that correspond to the goal. You focus on obsessively being that person and doing the things that you need to do, those 3 things, you're going to get to your goal. He said in this chapter that making progress is satisfying. And so these visual measures, like moving the paper clips from the full cup to the empty cup, provide clear evidence of progress. And so they will reinforce your behavior. For those of you that struggle with motivation, we're going to be talking about that throughout this chapter. Again, motivation is a feeling. And if you're trying to base your accomplishment on goals around the way that you feel, then there's a good chance that if you hit a spell that's pretty rough, you won't be accomplishing anything. And so you have to get into the mindset that even if you don't feel like doing something, that you just need to get it out the way and do it anyway. And you will continue to move forward and make progress in your life. So as a result, these little visual cues will reinforce your behavior, and they add a little bit of immediate satisfaction to the habits or the activities that you have to do. That is how motivation works. That is the definition of motivation. Motivation is not you waiting for inspiration. I told you guys about this book before, but it's a book called like The Daily Habits of Artists. And if you go through that book, you're going to see that most of the artists in that book, the writers, painters, composers, whatever, they were always doing something that was pushing them in the direction of greatness, in the direction toward their craft, whether they felt like it or not. And a lot of them will say that if they ever waited until they got an inspiration or a motivation, they would never have done their craft. So they always had to build in success mechanisms or processes into their day, into their life, so that they were doing what was going to move them toward their goal, even if they didn't feel like it. And this is how momentum is born. Visual measurement can come in many forms. A lot of you have already heard about these type of things: food journals, workout logs, how you get the little punch cards from the stores. All of those things are motivating for you to continue to do a behavior, right? If you get 5 punches, you get a free drink. Doesn't that motivate you to want to continue to buy drinks? It is no different than bringing that principle down into your own personal life when you're trying to accomplish goals. Another famous story that I read in multiple self-help books is about Jerry Seinfeld, and he wanted to improve his craft as a joke writer, as a comedian. And so he made a deal with himself that he was going to write jokes every day. And he would put an X on the calendar whenever he wrote the jokes. His goal was not to be perfect, because some of you just trying to make things perfect. It wasn't to be perfect. It wasn't to do things right. What his goal was no matter what, every day I'm going to write some jokes. And what he wanted to do once he started to see those X's consistently on his tracker was it motivated him that, hey, I'm seeing progress. I'm writing every day. So now I just don't want to break that chain. Don't want to break that chain. Again, I'm going to be repeating myself, but do you see how that is how motivation is created? Motivation is created from confidence, movement, and success, the little wins that you get when you start to take action. And the bigger that you can do this, and the more that you can do this, that is how people stay motivated. That is how successful people stay motivated. Especially think about these people that have had dreams that they've had to work on for 10, 20 years before they even saw any success. They had a compelling feeling. They had an identity that was aligned with what it is that they felt in their heart that they wanted. But no matter what was going on, no matter when it looked like they weren't going to make progress, the little wins, even if it was marking an X on a calendar or a habit tracker, was something that provided them enough motivation to keep going. So success leaves clues. They're not crazy for doing this. This is something that you can adopt in your life in order to be able to stay on track every day. Research shows that people who track their progress are more likely to improve than people that don't. It also keeps you honest. This is what I want y'all to hear. If y'all don't hear nothing else that I say with me repeating myself all the time, this is what you need to hear. We think we act better than we do. Most of us have a distorted view of our behavior, and so habit tracking keeps you honest. When I have a client come to me, they will feel like they are doing everything that they can think of to move themselves toward a goal. But when we actually sit and go through my process where they're tracking their habits, they've developed their goals, they've developed all the things they need to develop in order to be successful, and then we do our check-ins, we can clearly see that no, boo, you weren't. You weren't doing the actions that you needed to do, which is funny because I don't know that we do this on purpose. I think that the day gets away from us. Once we get going, things come up, we have to respond, we get busy, we get stretched in all different directions, and then we get exhausted, giving all of our time and energy to other people, our jobs, and we don't have it left for ourselves. So we feel tired and we feel like we've done all the things. But when we actually look at the actions that are going to move the dial, you can clearly see, if you're tracking it, that no, you usually are not doing what you said you were going to do. So it keeps you honest, because one glance at the piece of paper, your habit tracker, or for the gentleman that we talked about at the beginning of this chapter, the guy with the paper clips, if he didn't get all of his paper clips into that empty cup, if he didn't make 120 calls, then it doesn't matter what story that he told himself about how hard he was working and how much he wanted a goal to happen. He wasn't doing what he needed to do to move forward. And so he clearly had his answer. He had evidence right in front of him about why he wasn't accomplishing the things that he said that he wanted to accomplish. So he mentioned the same thing that I just mentioned. Also, the benefit of tracking a habit is because it makes the habit more attractive. It makes the whole process more attractive. And again, he said the most effective form of motivation is progress. It's not you sitting around waiting until you feel it. it's you creating progress, and from that progress you get motivated. And so when you start to see progress, it is a signal to your brain, it is a signal to yourself that you're actually moving forward. And so that is what creates that motivation and momentum for you to keep going. And also, sometimes if you have a goal that's very far off, then what could also be rewarding about tracking your habits is the fact that you actually get a mini reward. Every time you put a little box that you drank all your water, or you did your workout, or whatever it is that you decide that you want to track, you know that that's a little bit of progress and a little success, a little win for yourself. And so that also is motivating. What you do need to make sure, though, is that you're only tracking the most important things. So you'll notice that the way that I taught you guys how to do this process, if you feel like you've been stagnant for most of the year, is to pick one goal, and then with that one goal, pick 3 small habits that would move you in the direction of that goal. And then you want to measure things that are accompanying those 3 things, because we have a habit of tracking a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. And especially because there are things that happen in life before we can sense them. And remember, we use the weight loss example, how even if we step on the scale and we don't see that we've lost weight, our metabolism could be changing, our clothes could be getting looser, our skin could look better. So you have to make sure that whatever it is that you're tracking something that is value added toward the goal or the habit that you want to accomplish. Because, for instance, the weight loss thing, yes, you want to track that, but you need to understand that that's a lagging measure. It's more sensory. And so it's going to take a while for that number on the scale to catch up. So what are some other things that you can be looking at to track to keep you motivated and to keep you moving in the right direction? Some businesses will say, or Facebook, we're all on social media right now. We could think that because we got likes or because we got follows and all this stuff, that is an indicator that maybe we're popular or we have friends or people like us. And those are not valid measures of any success, especially because I know some of you in this broadcast are business owners, and we can get caught up in, well, we're not getting enough likes, we're not getting enough follows, we're not getting enough of all of these vanity metrics that don't make sense, when what we should be tracking as big business owners are things like our profit, our revenue, maybe our audience via our email list, things like that. So you just have to make sure that whatever it is that you do choose to track, you're tracking the right thing. And he has a good tip for you if you are one of those people that are all or nothing. So you get on the right track, you start counting, tracking your goals, and then you have a bad weekend. We've all been there, where you just kind of go ham and then you just fall off the rails. You just give up on yourself. You make one little slip slide, you make one little mistake, and from there you just give up and you just let the whole thing fall off the rails. So this is a habit that you can use to make sure that you don't make a small little mistake turn into a habit of failure. Because remember, we talked about that too. Never miss twice. That is his rule. Never miss twice. If you miss a day, don't beat yourself up about it. Don't make your frequency one of shame and disappointment. We all sometimes fall short of the things that we want to accomplish. But what your goal should be is to never miss twice and to get back up on the horse as quickly as possible. Because it's not the first mistake, just like it's not the first decision that ruins you. It's not the first mistake that ruins you. It's when you say, okay, well, I'm not going to eat good today. And, I didn't do well yesterday. So I'm just going to, maybe I'll start on Monday. So you just keep a cycle going that is not in your highest and best interest. Or maybe you blow your budget. And so you say, oh, I'm just going to keep going shopping. And pretty soon you done spent all your money and you got to start all over. It's like things like that ruin you. Those subsequent thank you for being, she's going to be gentle with herself. Okay, got it. Yeah, be gentle with yourself. This is actually the distinguishing factor between winners and losers, he said. If you break a habit, it doesn't matter that you broke the habit. It matters that you don't let it take you so far off track that you start to create habits that you don't want to have. And winners make the same mistakes that you make. They make the same slip ups that you make, but they don't sit around in disappointment and depression, beating themselves up about it. Tomorrow's a new day. We're just going to get it done. We're going to move on and we're going to get better. So this is your motto: never miss twice. He said this all or nothing cycle of behavior that I'm talking about. And I feel like a lot of you may be, you know, just from the comments that you may have struggled with this, where you go all in, you don't get the results that you want. So you get frustrated, or it takes too long. So you give up, and then you get to disappointment, then you get sad, and then things overwhelm you. And then either it's harder for you to try again, or you just keep trying and stopping and starting and stopping and starting. So you need to pay attention to the fact that the all or nothing behavior is a danger for you. And you need to be careful with that. And then we only have one more point in this chapter. It's a very straightforward chapter here. So again, he's saying that when you are tracking these things, you know, I already said, make sure you're tracking the right thing. The second thing that you want to do is make sure that you are not being obsessive about the tracking, right? Don't let it consume you, because then you start to get into an energetic space where you are putting an energy of resistance around your progress, which actually makes it harder for you to move forward. Ladies in the Personal Mastery Membership, I talked a lot about this when it comes to energetics, and you create an energetic of a resistance and a force when you start to move in a direction that is, you know, when you start to get obsessive about things and put things on a pedestal, or put things of like high importance. So just watch out for that. This is pretty straightforward. Anybody have any questions, concerns, anything like that? Yeah, okay, Ratana, now I can see it better. Thank you. Great points. Be gentle with yourself. Yeah, be gentle with yourself. At the same time, I am going to be a little pushy. Don't be too gentle. You need to do the habits. You need to do everything that we've talked about thus far. But if you slip up, you don't get to miss twice. All right, last thing that I want to announce is, again, if you want free resources, I added a blog article to this resource, so you can go over to the blog if you've already downloaded this resource. And there's a new blog all about change that I put over there in my own words. If you want to check that out, if you're struggling with change, you want to understand more about the science behind changing and failure and all of that, just so you can get more additional resources, you can text the word mastery to the number 833-231-4407, or you can just message me and I will send you the information directly. I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Ladies in the Personal Mastery Membership, don't forget we have a live over there. So I'll meet you over there so we can get a little bit more intimate and talk about some of the things that we may not feel as safe to talk about in such a large group. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.